Hello, Jonathan Chandler here at the Virginia School of Traditional Arts. We've got another commission that we're going to be working on. It's this kiosk. This kiosk will be stationed at the Southern Virginia Botanical Gardens. And this one is just what we're going to go by. We're going to make our own design, but they like the kind of shape of this one. This one's made out of metal. We're going to make ours out of wood, and so we're going to modify this right much. So what we got to do first is we got to figure out some dimensions. On something like this, I generally like to start with the doors, because once we make the doors, we can make the rest of it to fit it. That's the easiest part. And with these doors, what we start with is the plexiglass. And so I did some research, and we can get plexiglass that is 36 inches wide and 72 inches tall, which is more than enough for what I think we need this for. But we'll start with the 36 inches wide. We're going to have a frame around our doors. This door at the top will open one side or the other. It will open this way, and this one at the bottom will fold down. The folks at the Botanical Garden liked that they had put some decorating items up here with steel, and so that's what we're going to do with ours. We'll make some leaves and some birds and different things and put up there. And the rest of this will be 4x4s. And our roof may slightly differ from this, but it'll be a curved type roof, but it'll be made out of wood. This section here, I would like it to be from the top to bottom be about 16, and this section here to be approximately 48. And so we take our plastic then, and then we make us a plan for our doors. And so our first door here will be a frame. The long side of our door, we're going to use pocket screws, so the long side of our doors will go all the way through. And we'll cut a rabbet in this door all the way around with a router. And we're going to cut our wood down in dimension. We're going to start out with basically 2x8. But we're going to cut our wood down in dimension, and so that it's approximately 1 inch tall and 2 inches wide. And once we get that cut, we can take some real accurate measurements, and then that's when we can figure out our rabbet in here and actually cut these pieces to length. Because what you're doing is, not only do you have to figure out this rabbet on both sides, so it would be like this, and your plexiglass would go from one side to the other and fit up into that little groove, or little notch rather. And then your total length is not important at this stage, but your inside length is from here to here is what this board is. And so you gotta, if you're gonna do 36-inch piece of plexiglass, you want to measure from this notch over to this notch 36 inches, and then measure in here to get the length of this board. So it's a little bit of math in it, but it's not hard. Like I said, this is the critical measurement. Our length can be, we're going to cut these pieces long to start with, and so when we cut our plexiglass, we can set our length fairly easily with this. And we're not going to cut the grooves in it until we get it all screwed together, but we need to know how deep that rabbet's going to be. So we're not going to cut the rabbet until we get all the pieces screwed together, but we need to know how deep that rabbet will be so that we can cut this appropriately. And we want to cut our plexiglass before we do much of this. Sometimes when you cut your plexiglass, out of experience, it doesn't work out well, and sometimes it'll break. So you want to cut your plexiglass first, or it gets raggedy on the edge and you got to do something with it. So you want to cut your plexiglass first, so you get your piece of plexiglass prior to you making your door. You can always shrink this door one way or another, no problem. But with the wood, it's easy to fix. The plexiglass is harder. You don't want to buy this twice. Our piece of plexiglass for this project is going to run us just about $100. We're going to try 53 and a half. That should be more than enough length. We're going to cut this just a little long. We have boards to do it. We have the board to do that on purpose. We're going to cut this a little long on both accounts. And that way we can come back and trim them up once we get the strips cut to exactly what we're wanting. Alright, with our modern lumber here, on the big box store that's pressure treated in particular, we get right many warps in it. These pieces were like this, and we split them apart, cut them apart with our table saw, and then we need these long pieces to be straight and flat. There's a couple ways we could try to fix this. We could come down here and we could plane off both sides of this until we keep coming back until this flattens out, and then come on this side, and once we get a flat side we could run it on our table saw again and trim it to the correct width to get it all flat. But my fear is if we do that, it's just going to warp again once it gets in the sunshine and rain and dry. So what I'm going to try is something I haven't seen anybody else do, but I've done it a couple times and it seems to work pretty good. Is we're going to rip this thing down the middle. We're going to take this side and put it on that side, or vice versa, either way, and we're going to squish it and glue it back together. We're going to make its warp work against itself. And so when the glue is on there, and we'll put some fasteners in there, maybe some screws or a couple nails, something that will help physically attach that. But we're gonna make this thing be pulling both directions equally. So we're going to rip it right down the middle and flip sides with it. If you ever do any knife making or furniture work, if you're going to make a mirror image, that's basically what we would be doing, except instead of laying them down flat ways like this, we're going to switch them and put them back like that. So we would, that's what we're intending to do with this. So we're going to give that a shot this time. And like I say, this is pressure treated, so we're not expecting but so much straightness out of it. But it is disappointing in that, the board looked relatively straight. It had a little bit of a cup in it this way, but relatively straight. And then we got this. And usually when you cut a board in half, even if it does have some bow in it the long ways, when you cut it in half, that's eliminated at least half of that bow. Well, this one looks like it didn't eliminate anything. Taking that crooked board and split it down the middle and flipped it over, and now you can see that it's bowed like that now. We didn't flip it end for end, we just flipped it over. So when we pull these together, that should be as straight as we can be able to get this board. It's putting pressure at the ends equally. And before I ripped it, I put a witness mark on it so I knew that both ends, which end was which, and that when I flip this around, it should go right back to this board. Because I'm doing several of these. Alright. So, next step, we're just going to put some glue on this. The glue I am using is Tight Bond 2. They don't pay me anything, but it's good glue, so I'll tell you about it. And we're just going to glue it There's plenty of glue here in the middle especially. That's where it's going to really pull. The others are going to be pushing together really. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this board and set it on top and wiggle it a little bit. Get that glue everywhere and pull it back apart and see what we're doing. See, we're getting it on both ends, but we're not pushed down in the middle yet, so we're going to do that. And wiggle it a little bit still. And make sure that our glue is good enough if we're getting it all over. If we're not, we're getting dry spots, we'll put a little more. A little more where it looks dry. At the end. It does end a little bit. Some places don't look like it's ever touched. But we're going to measure touch here just in a second. We're going to, like I say, get that thing where it's smoothed around there. And then we're going to line up our end. We're trying to keep the glue off of the sides that we're wanting. And we're going to throw some clamps on this thing. And this process is going to take us a little time because we don't have but so many clamps. And we do want to go back and check that our edges are level. Tapping them, I hope. I have to loosen the clamps, they're so tight. There we go. That one's level. That one's level. That one's level. It's usually the ends that get kind of wonky sometimes on you. Alright. And so we're going to let that sit up overnight. I'm going to wipe off this excess glue right now best I can. There's not big hooks on there. I have marked which side I want the screw holes on, the pocket holes, and I marked which corner I want it on because I want to leave one section with no screws so I can run a router around it and put us a rabbet in it to hold the actual glass. So that's what these marks are. And my pocket hole rig here, drill, has 3 holes on it. 2 of them are close together. That's the 2 I'm going to use. So I'm going to line it up level with this edge of this, and I'm going to drill that thing in. done. Holes are on the right side. We're going to make sure we got no debris down here on our little jig, because that will throw us off. And we're going to switch over and we're going to put them on this corner this time. So we're going to show you all that. Put them on that corner. I'm going to run it all the way over here, close as I can get it to this edge. Make sure that it's hitting. As you can see on this one, you can see the hole, and I'm feeling for that hole and I'm pushing it just past that hole. And so I think that's probably pretty good. We're going to snip it in and drill its 2 holes. Utilizing our plywood for a square. I'm just using it as a square. It was pretty square with these joints. And if you've cut your material squarely, these joints will pull it up squarely. If you cut it crooked, it's going to pull it up crooked too. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our C-clamp, vice grip C-clamp here. And we're going to, what I'm looking for mainly right now is flush over here. So get that flush. There it goes. Alright, there's our door frame for our window. It's smooth on this side. If there's any variation, it'll be on the back side where the screws are. And so we're just going to look it over real good, make sure everything looks right. I'll show y'all what I got in my router. It's got a ball bearing. It's just part of a kit that I have. And it's got a flat cutting bit on it. And it's approximately, what, 3/8 of an inch, and it's cutting in approximately 1/2 an inch, thereabouts. You can measure it, I'm sure, but that's what I want. I just want something that's going to cut deep enough in and deep enough over and give me a flat corner around this edge. I'm going to go around all of it in the middle of our screws here, where the screws are not, for sure. That way I'll ensure that if my screws are over too far and I'm tearing up my bit, I only do that on the end. I don't think it's going to do that, but we'll err on the side of caution. With the router, we got our groove cut in. It has round corners in it. We could take a chisel and square those corners up, For what we're doing, I'm just going to round the corners of their plexiglass. Once I get it cut to shape, we're gonna round the corners of the plexiglass with a belt sander. All right, just got me a little board on both ends of this to keep it from flopping off here, so I can sand it a little bit. We're gonna start with just rounding the corners. Soon this fit real good and tight, which we've got now. We just took our time with our sander, cut it oversized just slightly. Took our time with our sander, rounded our corners, and just took it down just ever so slightly with the sander. And we got that thing to fit in there good and tight. One option to put your glass in would be to use some kind of adhesive, something like caulk or something like that. You could put a bead around and put your glass down and smash it in. I don't think I'm going to do that. This is plexiglass. This is going to be outside. The lawnmowers and people are going to be messing with it, I'm sure, and it's going to get scratched. So we're going to eventually want to replace this plexiglass. And so I'm going to put in some strips along here that are screwed in or tack nailed in with a nail gun. Something I can take out relatively easy. Went ahead and we've made our doors. This door here is slightly, ever so slightly wider than this one, maybe 1/8 of an inch. But we're gonna use our width on this door to set our width for our poles. This door will automatically fit because it's a little narrower, and then we're gonna add them together to get our height forward here. But it'll be a distance between here. But right now we're just gonna get our height measurement so that we can kind of work on our poles. So here, and we're going to measure this a couple places because it could be different. Here at the bottom edge, it's about, we're going to call it 38 3/8. No, 38 3/4. 38 3/4. So we'll measure it up here at the top. Again, 38 3/4. 38 3/4. Not quite 39. And we'll get this one lined up. Yeah, this one just off a smidge, just ever so slightly. And so, but it is smaller, so we're not going to worry about its measurement at the moment. So we're going to measure here from the top down, and we're going to say that is 71 1/8. And 71. A strong 1/8, almost 1/4. So we're going to do call 71 1/4 and 38 3/4. All right, so we got 38 3/4 this direction. You know, it's your outside, and then all the way together. Yeah, we're going to call it 70. Like a 71 1/4. So 71 1/4 all the way together. Now we're probably going to add another piece in here, but we'll see what it looks like. So that's kind of our outside dimensions, minimum. The top will be a little taller. So what we're going to do next is we're going to cut us a few pieces to go across here. And if we look at our picture again, we're going to basically cut the top, the middle, and the bottom, and we're going to use those dimensions to do that. We're going to leave ourselves a little bit of a room around it so that the door will function. If you make it too tight, the door won't work. So we're going to leave a little bit of room around it, maybe an eighth, a fat eighth, both one side and then the top. Same with this bottom door. Make it about an eighth bigger. So what our dimensions are looking like are going to be for our cut pieces. We're gonna cut us 3 boards to go in between our poles. We're gonna make those 38. If we did an eighth, so 38 3/4 plus an eighth would be 38 7/8. So we're going to cut 3 of those 3 times. Alright, this is our kiosk, and it's pretty much final state as far as woodwork goes. We've got some artwork to do for the top, but I was going to show you some details on it that we just cut out because due to length of time on our video. We planed down this door at an angle a little bit, as well as this one at an angle this way, so that it would fit snug at the edge. We also put in a little blocks of wood here that's a stop for the door, so when it goes together it stops. This door was a little loose and floppy, so we added a screw up here. We can adjust that screw as needed to make this door shut tight. Right now it's raining and been a nice storm here, so the wood is swollen up with just the humidity in the air, and so it's fitting really nice and tight. But that's what we want. We don't want this thing to be floppy. At the very top, we had to add the screw. We added these cleats. They're nothing but a little skinny piece of plywood and then a wider just a piece of treated wood. Wider this way, but pretty thin, and we just nailed it down. Particularly a rabbit, and you just nailed it down. We can pull that off fairly easily, but it won't just push out. We may have to do something with this corner. The corners, I didn't run it long to the corners. I probably should have made it a little longer, but I may just put a little screw or something in each corner so the corners can't push in. We put 3 hinges on each side. We are 36 inches wide here and 48 there. But I did want to point out that we put these little stop blocks in here. They're full length, so that the door has a stop, and it's over here too. And we did that to help us put these hinges on, so we had a place for the hinge to go down too. But anyhow, that's our door. I don't think we're going to add any handles. We may, but I don't think we'll have handles. But we may make some nice forged leaf handles or something to put on these. That would look cool. I'll check and see if that's what they would like. But you get something too nice of a handle here, people will start pulling on it. You just gotta always be cautious of something in the public. It's in the public, so if you less to pull on, the better. And that's why I wanted these tight, so that it couldn't stick the hand up in here and try to break it. back side, we may do something decorative on the back side too. The back side is just this T111, and it's actually screwed on flush to the 4x4, using 4x4 legs. This currently sitting about almost thigh high here. It won't be that tall once it's in the ground. We'll put it in the ground maybe 18 inches and have 6 or 8 inches here to weed eat around. We don't want to weed eat against this, of course. And we may put a concrete slab or 2 bricks or something there to make it where you don't have to weed eat on the wall. Because people come and stand here. If you get a thing that people are coming and standing at all the time, looking at, you'll end up with a mud hole there. It'll pack down the soil, and you'll end up with a mud hole. So we may put bricks around this to match the rest of our botanical garden installation. But it's worked out pretty good. This is the wood portion of it, and you can stop here. We're going to go ahead and put some more decorations at the very top, and we're going to have a round roof on this, or rounded roof, and we're going to have some blacksmith hot foliage leaves and different vines and stuff at the top. I hope y'all have enjoyed watching this video. This is going to be part 1 of 2. We're going to give you a video on the blacksmith portion of this, and the forging, and fitting our artwork in the top, and the roof will be the last little bit. So this is going to be 1 of 2. But again, you can put a roof on this or not. Put your piece of flashing at the top, and we call it your roof. But this would be a nice kiosk, no matter where you're putting this, at a school or park or what have you. Hope that helps. These are 10-foot tall 4x4s. We use 2 pieces of the T111 siding, and we put them back to back so that there's a good side on both sides. They're just screwed straight to the back of these 4x4s and cut to length and width. We put a 2x4 here, and at the top with pocket screws that held it together. We didn't show any of that. That's pretty straightforward. The pocket screws holding on to the doors, basically the same process you do for those. And I suggest if you're going to make something like this, make the doors first, get the doors figured out, and then work on the rest of this. Much easier to just cut a little bit longer 2x4 to make your door work than to redo the door because it doesn't fit the hole. So anyhow, that's my advice. Hope y'all like this. If you have, like and subscribe, give us a comment, and come see us at the Botanical Garden in about a month. Thank you.